No, I'm just trying to.
So we're sitting here with Dan, my brother, Daniel Carter. Man, I've known, of course, all his life, and that I love very much, and I've learned a lot from. Dan, where are we at right now?
We are at Sherilyn Healthcare Center, the place where I live but refuse to call home.
And how did you end up here?
How did I end up here? Well, I had some health issues that made it impossible for me to live at home, at least for a time being, and need nursing care for. And so it became necessary to come stay in a place like this, at least for now.
Brother, I know you've been fighting this, you've been living this health issue in this life for a long time. Can you kind of just give us a story of how it all came down, how you lived through this?
Once upon a time, a child was born. The end. Well, as an adult, I started experiencing some weird things. Playing flag football, I broke my back, and that seemed to just kind of kick things off into the weirdness of life. And in my late 20s, I started experiencing weird sensations in my head and my neck, and they were no one could explain them. With a lot of doctors and visits to the ER and things, and no one could explain it. Finally, a doctor in the ER put a brace on my neck, one of those little collars on my neck, and it was a brand new world for at least a little while anyway. There's really no diagnosis or anything, just that it helped. It helped, and so forth we went. And from there, things were just starting to open up as to how weird this thing was going to be. A few years after that, after playing some street football with the kids, my kids and the kids from the church, my feet started hurting, like the bottom of my feet were bruised, and it hurt to walk for days. I thought that actually bruised the bottom of my feet by playing football on the streets, and that was weird. And that went away after a while, and then it just came back, and it just got worse. And started experiencing other bizarre symptoms, trembling in my hands, weakness, and went to a slew of doctors. And what they came up with was I had a familial peripheral neuropathy. Familial, obviously meaning family. Asked me who has neuropathy in my family. Are you? Do you know who has it?
No?
Me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the one. Yeah, I kind of set you up on that one, man. But it doesn't mean you actually know anyone or anyone ever have it. But that's the particular variety of it is most people say, he got the sugar diabetes. And that's what gave it to him. He got the sugar diabetes. They were like salt diabetes or anything like that. That would kill me. You come to church, he was cured of the sugar diabetes. Like, oh, the sugar variety, huh? Cracks me up, man. But mine didn't come from the diabetes or the sugar diabetes. It just came from a familiar thing. And it was, mine was particularly troublesome. It turned into a lot of other odd things. So I started having memory problems, cognitive problems, bizarre sleeping cycles. I could stay up for days and then fall asleep at a traffic light. I was falling asleep at work. All kinds of things were just going really nutsy. My hands and feet were numb all the time, and started experiencing some pretty extreme pain type symptoms, and then eventually after a few years after that, I got some diabetes that came on board, and then I'm not sure if it was the sugar kind at that time or not, but it may have been. I know I was drinking like 10 big gulps a day at that point. The healthy kind, though, light big gulp. What those things are called, you know, those 99-ounce Snickers you get at 7-Eleven. Yeah, well, I wasn't really, but I was drinking too much sugar, and I knew something was goofy, and sure enough, I had diabetes. And that's been going on for 35 years with all these, the neuropathy, neuro symptoms. Like people thought for a long time, even I did off and on, that it was MS. So I've had no fewer than 10 complete head, neck MRIs. And, you know, I got to the point where I can't even go in the MRI room anymore. I just freeze up, start sweating, you know, and I'm like, you can't make me go in. No, get into the tube. Make me go get into the tube. No. And so now they got to knock me out completely to get me in the tube because I just can't do it. But no MS, and that's because I don't have MS. I have a really difficult and stubborn and pervasive form of peripheral neuropathy. It's called polyperipheral neuropathy of the familial variety. With MS, that as basically, simply put, it's nerve damage and nerve destruction from the brain and spinal column going outwards. From neuropathy, it's destruction, damage to the nerves of the body going inward towards the spinal column and the brain. So that it's similar type circumstances or things that happen to you, the symptoms. I know I could think of it. Symptoms. But a lot of them they don't. It's rarely deadly. Within that, you know, it can go to your breathing and do a lot of things. That is a horrible, horrible disease. But then we had, for some reason, my sinuses got involved too. I kept getting these awful sinus infections. And I've had 18 sinus surgeries in my lifetime, and I'm constantly having infections. And with that, I've just battled infections. When all this began, I just started getting all these infections all over my body. At 19, I had osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection in my right leg. They almost cut it off. I know we really don't know where it came from. No solid proof of how I got it. But that was the first of many stubborn and weird infections that I've dealt with. So the sinus infections brought on a lot of heartache and really painful, man. They suck so bad, dude. They're horrible. I was at the sinus doc one time about a few years back, and the doctor says, "Oh, you're losing your brains." I said, "Is that like losing your mind?" He goes, "No, you're actually losing your brains. They're leaking out through your sinuses." I said, "What?" And I was leaking spinal fluid from my sinuses. That's not a good thing. So I had to go in and get a cork and some glue, and we fixed that up. And that was tough, man. I tell you, I got just all kinds of kookiness out of that. It was horrible, man. I became extremely anxious over the slightest thing. Headaches, memory problems, cognition problems again. About 10 years into my neuropathy, 12 years, I had to go into to collect not unemployment, but benefits that you get from
disability.
Disability, thanks, man. Disability, not because I couldn't work, but because I couldn't keep a schedule. You know, there's 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, I just wiped out. I couldn't do anything. My brain just didn't work in a good way. Everything was just, I call it the wackies. Everything was just whacked out. Seems like a horrible imbalance going on in your brain. And all I wanted to do was sleep and sleep. And you couldn't, you say, oh, I'm sleepy, and then you'd fall asleep. It's kind of like narcolepsy almost, but I don't think it was. I could stay awake until there wasn't any stimulation, and then I'd nod off. But the whole time I'd be like, man, I'm really sleepy. And that works through the years to where now when I'm sleepy, I just go out. And when I wake up, I wake up. I don't know how that works out, but it doesn't. So, forward we go with that one. And there's a few other wild things that went on with me. My body just seems to be angry with me in general. We don't seem to get along too well. I've lost all my teeth due to infection, which made me eating a lot less fun. And God knows I like to eat. So if I'd have just waited, I wouldn't have had to got the stomach reduction. Because I can't eat good with my teeth. I can't eat the things I like. So, oh, never mind. I got fat with that too. So never mind. Good thing I got the stomach reduction.
So Dan, I know you. I mean, you joke around and you're funnier than heck, but I know you're in a lot of pain, man. Where does that pain come from?
Well, there's different kinds of pain. The neuropathy pain comes from the death of the nerve endings. The neuron is covered by a myelin sheathing. It's like a wire, electric wire. It has the wire in the middle and it has that rubber stuff on the outside to prevent the electricity from traveling outside. It keeps everything going in the same direction. And with the neuropathy and MS, that sheathing, the protective sheathing, gets eaten away by your body's acids. And when that happens, there's a death of the nerve, but the tissue dying that the nerves communicate to, the tissue is fine, but the nerves are dying. And when you hurt your hand, your bone doesn't hurt, your nerves hurt. So when your nerves are dying, it's painful. And the muscles that you used to use no longer work right. And all that just causes a complete imbalance in that system. And the pain that it creates, it's wide spectrum of pain, different in intensity, different in scope, different in longevity, different sensations. It's wide, it's varied, and it's goes anything from what I call a mean tickling. It tickles so hard you're in pain. Imagine getting tickled with a feather on the inside of your nerves, and not on your outside your foot, but the inside of the nerves. It tickles to the point where it hurts, and you'd like it to stop, but it won't stop, and it becomes painful, and then the legs start spasming and kicking around, and skin burns in my hand, a lot of burning, and the stiffness and all that, and it's not real pleasant. A lot of cold, extremely cold, man. I get the chills and cold all the time, freezing cold, and that's just part of the thing, I guess. I try not to talk into it. My kids don't even know much about what I've been through, and on here learning over the last few years, kind of what I've been through, and I just don't want to give any glory to that. That's not my business. It's not my life. It's not who I am. And the place that I give to it in my life is mixed with humor. and little else, because I'm not going to allow it to take the glory of God, the goodness of God, and the wonder of my life, and dictate to me how I'm going to be, who I'm going to be, how I'm going to approach people, what my relationships are going to be. There's things I can't get around, and there's others to it, like being in a wheelchair. You know, I can't get up and walk, so I can't get out of bed, so that people got to help me with a machine to do that. There's some things I cannot avoid, but I don't want that to be the focus of my life. Unfortunately, people get an affliction of some kind, and they make it their life. Oh, there's Bojangles. He's got the scorbid banding disease, or and he suffered soloist. Oh yeah, brothers, why don't you tell us about that? And they just make it who they are, and I don't want to do that, man. I want to be me.
So I know that all this has been real hard on you, even though you don't want it to be like all of you. It's a piece of you, like, and there's pain and pain and beauty everywhere, right? But it's been hard on you, man. Hard emotionally. Can you speak anything to that?
Man, I don't know. I'm thinking that. I don't know, dude. That's a tough one. I don't know. If it wasn't for what I learned about God through the substitutionary death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, it'd be a lot more difficult. But knowing who God is and what God has done through the death, burial, and resurrection of His Son, and the inner workings of that, and what all that means to mankind, and what Jesus did for me, price that He paid for me, and my identity in that, makes everything else very much livable. Pain is temporary. Sadness is temporary. There's no victory in sorrow. Not continued everlasting sorrow, but I don't. It's a matter of choice. You can choose what you want to do. You can let your systems dictate to you, your circumstances dictate to you. And there's certain times with certain people, God bless them, you deal with the best you can. But there's just a stubbornness in us, especially I think in our Carter Arnold genes, that says no. And I ain't gonna do it. I ain't down with that, man. It ain't gonna happen. That's not the way it's gonna be. And I put my foot down a long time ago. I said, we ain't going that way, man. I can't do anything about it.
Dan, I mean, you've been through so much, and a lot of people, including myself, would have probably, I probably would have given up by now. So this is just not worth it. And a lot of other people probably are in that same boat, but you just keep on fighting, man. What keeps you going?
What do you mean by give up? What does that mean?
I mean, just quit eating, or just
try to die without killing yourself,
or just turn off.
Just force everybody out of your life and just
yeah. What keeps you going?
I just believe that someday something's going to get better. And I'm probably stupid and wrong, but when it comes, I'm going to be ready for it. Perseverance in, I might be dumb, but I sure am stupid. Oh man, just dumb stubbornness. stupid. And I'm playing too sharp.
So, this has been real tough on Chris, your wife, Chris.
Oh,
Yeah, she's amazing, man. Can you speak a little bit about how she's helped you and what she means to you?
man, she's my all in all. She's my best friend. She's my earthly savior. She's a champion. I can't tell you what she means to me and why she's stuck with me and done all through this. I mean, an agreement is agreement. She's not doing it out of agreement. She's doing it out of love. And because she loves me and loves me. And we don't have this, deep, abiding hand in hand. We're going to make it through this Hallmark Channel, relationship. There's a lot of angst and a lot of hardness in it. Sometimes angry words, but we try not to have too many of them. But there's a hardness that develops in that, and it'll harden your heart. And the thing that one of the things that just kills me is the hardness that has come onto my dear sweet Chris. She's not an emotional person. She doesn't go out looking for shoulders to cry on and call up girlfriends and want to tell her stories to get people feeling sorry for her. She's the queen of just get out of my way, I'm going to go to work and be quiet. And that's how she deals with things. She just puts her heels down and digs her heels in and refuses to be moved. And but it's hurt her a lot, man. It changed her, and that's the part that hurts.
Yeah, it's been traumatic for both of you.
Yeah, I've told Chris, I said, I think it's harder for the companion than it is for the one who's really the sufferer. Because I know what I feel like. I know what today is going to feel like. I know what my limitations are. But the other person just has to take the word of the one they're supporting. They have to feed off of their energy or their communication somehow, some way, without really knowing. And that lack of really knowing, I think, it's a beautiful thing that they can, she can understand without knowing, she can be sympathetic without being empathetic. I don't want her to feel my pain. I don't want her to be hurt. I don't want her to, and even with her, I do my best to keep the worst things to myself.
How about your kids? I know it's been hard on them too.
Oh, my kids are a wonder, man. The mother did a good job. They're just buttholes more than how they're pain in the ass. I don't know. They're such great people. You want to keep going?
Push back after she's done.
You want to keep going?
There's enough space for her to squeeze by. I'll just put this in her room.
Okay.
Is that okay there, Casey?
Oh, yeah.
We'll leave the right leg rest off, so you can push afterward.
So Dan, we were talking about your kids and how this has been for them and you.
Well, it was really tough for the kids because growing up, we didn't talk about it a lot. I did not focus on my illness. I think they just understood that Dad was sick and that he couldn't work. but that he was trying to be a regular dad. But when it really added up, it didn't add up. You know, I wasn't like everybody else. Dad, I didn't go to work. Um, I was home most of the time. I seemed to have these health problems in the hospital, in the emergency room, and all these other things. And in that, it was difficult for him to really become sympathetic and empathetic. Glad that he became empathetic, but even sympathetic towards what I was going through. Because I think they felt that if he doesn't say anything, I guess there's nothing wrong. So I don't think they spent a whole lot of time pondering in their minds what's wrong. And if they didn't ask, I didn't tell them. And if we could go back and do some things over, that may be one of the things I'd probably do, is talk to the kids more about the process of what was going on. But my thought at that point was, again, I'm not giving space to it, but trying to keep up as much normality as I could for the sake of the face of the family. And so it was really tough on them. They obviously did just fine, but it caused some emotional problems. And I'm going to tell you it didn't. But I think Elizabeth was the most affected. She's a very, very emotional little girl, and it happened right when she was, you know, I was already pretty sick when she was born. So they don't know more about it. We both up and talked a lot more in the years. But yeah, it was kind of different.
So our mother and father passed away many years ago now. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on how you remember mom and dad, and anything you want to say about our folks?
How much shape you got on this machine?
Go for it, brother.
Do you want me to be nice, or you want me to be real?
I want you to be real.
Hey, man. You know, I love our parents. I respected Dad, and I loved Mommy. I loved Dad also, but it was two different types of loving relationships between the two. Mom, you could sit on the couch and watch replays of Gilligan's Island over and over and over, and she'd be happy and pig and slop. And Dad, his idea of a relationship was coming out in the garden with him, so he could be his gardening assistant. You know, come in and do whatever it was he was doing around the house that day, so they get tired of having you around and whatever. It was different, two different types of people. I had a good childhood, man. I'm not complaining. You know, Mom had some emotional things she went through as a young mother, and I don't know a lot about it. You know, no one really talked to me about it, and I still don't know a whole lot about it. I know that she spent some time under some psychiatric care. I remember at one point, is it like at Christmas time, Mom had been in the hospital or something along those lines, and she came back home, and they said she was supposed to keep busy or something like that. So we were making angels, cut and paste angels, and had a catalog book or something. I really don't remember exact details of it. But we sat around and did arts and crafts with Mom for a couple of weeks. And didn't understand really what we were doing, other than they said to be nice to Mom and help her. So, growing up, I didn't know Dad. I didn't have any relationship with Dad, other than he was Dad. I didn't do anything with him, not much, that I remember. I don't have few memories of Dad. Very few. He was a different kind of guy, provider. You know, I'm not gonna sit on the rail on anybody, you know, especially after they're gone. Dad's trip was his trip, you know, it was his affair. I'm just curious as to why did you start a family if you didn't really want one? You know, it didn't seem like he was overly enthralled about having two sons. He loved having his daughter, but I thought you and I were kind of like afterthought projects. Maybe keep mom happy or something like that. I don't know. Speaking for myself, I can say I really had no relationship with the guy growing up. He commanded respect. He got that. It was his house and he knew it. It was with a heavy hand, but you know, he was a smart guy, and he knew how to work a presence, and I wish I had known him better. I never knew him, not really. I don't know, man. I've got a lot of feelings about that. I really do. And a lot of things I've talked to Chris about, not with you and Lola. I know you got a different relationship with mom and dad than I did. And it's, I look back at my life and I just say, man, again, I just don't understand why you're going to have kids and you're not going to spend any time with them.
It sounds like there's a lot of pain and confusion both there. Is that right, or am I just putting words in your mouth?
Yeah, not much room for words in my mouth, dude. Yeah, no, not at all, dude. That's one way to look at it. I wouldn't say not real pain, but an emptiness, a void, and not really confusion, but lack of understanding as to some of the reasons. And again, I don't know a lot about that. So he knew what he wanted us to know, we knew. Other than that, we didn't. I think there's a lot about Dad that we didn't know. That's just my impression.
And thanks for all of that. Take you back to where we started. I mean, you're here in this care facility. I use the term care very loosely.
Good idea, yeah.
Can you just tell me what it's like for you and others here?
Well, that's really interesting, because what's like for me here isn't what's like for anybody else. I'm a younger person here.
Right, you're 62? Is that right?
63.
63?
Yeah. I'm probably one of the youngest people here under care. And a good portion of these people are in memory care or have mental deficiencies of some form or another. And most of them come from abject poverty. A lot of them do anyway. And very few of these people have family. So my experience here compared to theirs is different in that, but we do share a lot. That we live together in this place. And what I learned in a short amount of time was I didn't really understand it at first, but this is where people come to die. You know, and this is the last chance hotel. This is the last stop, gas stop. And some people here understand that, some people don't. I don't plan on dying here. Myself, I'll go home soon. I'm not home now just because Chris needs to retire before she can take care of me. And that's coming up real soon. She's going to retire. I'm going to come home. And at any rate, there's a lot of nice people here that I like, and people that I hear that I love that work here, and they take good care of me. Those people do. But even they're limited in the scope of care they're going to give someone that they work to take care for. And they're not going to care for me like a family member. You know, they're not going to do the things you do for, you know, a loved one. The word care comes again with much trepidation. It's an ugly business. It's a government business where the government's established these facilities, these guidelines for people to, as a safety net to go to at the end of the day, at the end of their life. But really what it's turned into was, or meant to it all along, I don't know, is a way for people to make money. And, you know, they're all privately owned, which I support that, and they're highly regulated. But the regulations, I think, favor the owner and management more than they do the residents. And there's no real safety net for the people that are here. You just have to trust that people are going to do their jobs. And there's no real checks and balances to make sure that that's being done. There's no quality inspection to see if how well people are doing in their jobs. There's no testing to see, you know, what kind of techniques or methods these people are using. There's no common or communal practices or methods. It's like the old West. Everybody just does their own thing. But a few questions asked, even few answered. And you know, you deal with people's lives here. I've seen multiple people die in front of me. Most of the deaths were not pleasant. And they didn't have to be that way. Yeah, most of the people are going to die anyway, but not in the fashion that they did. They should have been comforted and ushered into the next life with some dignity. And they were at the end were scared. They were discounted. They were mistreated. In some cases, abused. And in a lot of cases, the death was brought along prematurely by what was supposed to be the care that was supposed to prolong their life. Instead, it was substituted for a premature exit, I feel. I know if I stay here, I'll leave early. I won't live much longer being here. So I got to get out. They almost killed me a couple of times. And I take better care of myself than they take care of me. And when I get so sick that I can't take care of myself, things go bad. And so the goal is to get me out of here, to get out of this umbrella of death. When you think about it, the average employee who's working for a few years, they get it, they understand, they see their residents die. And they understand now that eventually, well, whether or not they're all about to die anyway. And that's what a lot of them, whether they admit it or not, have to basically divert, came to was, well, we could do that, but it doesn't matter, they're going to die anyway. So what if they blah, blah, blah? Well, so what if I don't blah, blah, blah? One time, no big deal. They're about to die anyway. Oh, he just sleeps in you. Oh, I wouldn't worry about that.
But still, you know everybody's name in this place. You know their stories. You know about their families. You know everything and everybody.
Hold on a
Is
second,
this
yeah.
what you want, or is usually you got a PB and J? That's what you want? That's what you want, what you really, really want?
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
Okay, go.
Well, yeah, I love these people, man. These people are my friends and my extended family. And, these people, I associate more and deal with the employees than I do the residents. Some of the residents are my friends, but most of them it's hard to communicate with. And I'm not paid to communicate with them. It's not my job. But I do what I can to smile with them, say hi to them, talk to them. Some have become friends. But the employees, on the other hand, they're here every day and they remember your name. And it's easier to be in a relationship with them than it is the residents. But you know what? I think to show God's love to these people and to let them know that God loves him and he loves me. You may not think so, but people say, I tell people, I was studying to be a pastor at one point. They go, you? Man, that hurts. They think because I'm so, I don't know, goofy or lighthearted, however you want to look at it. But I couldn't be all serious like that. But I am.
So let's leave it there, Dan. I think it's really important that we tell people that we love them, because you never know, right? And I love you.
I love you too, Marty.
Thanks.
Thank you.